This happened back when I was in my early 20s. I was living in a small house with 3 other guys. None of us really knew each other before moving in, but we all went to the same college and graduated around the same time. After school ended, we were each looking for somewhere to stay, and things just kind of worked out that we ended up rooming together. The house itself wasn't anything fancy, just a small place sitting on the rural outskirts of the city. The main reason we chose it was because it was affordable. Rent was pretty cheap since we were splitting it 4 ways. Anything closer to the city was way out of our budget. For the first 9 months or so, everything was pretty smooth. We weren't super close, but we got along just fine. Then, kind of out of nowhere, 2 of the guys decided to move out, both at the same time. That left just me and Ethan, who I barely knew. He was always working or getting home late. We never really hung out. The worst part was that, with the other 2 gone, Ethan and I had to split the rent between just the 2 of us, which nearly doubled our payments overnight. Neither of us could really afford that, so we both agreed that once the lease ended in 3 months, we'd move out and go our separate ways. At first, it didn't seem so bad. The house was a lot quieter, but honestly, I didn't mind the extra space. Ethan was rarely ever home anyway. On my days off, I usually had the whole house to myself, just relaxing, watching TV, or gaming for hours. At first, it was almost nice having so much quiet, but the longer it went on, the stranger it felt. Ethan only worked part-time shifts in the mornings, but he'd be out of the house for hours afterward, often not coming back until well after midnight. I figured maybe he had friends or was seeing someone, but after a while, the fact that I barely saw him at all started to make me feel uneasy. One night, I ended up staying up later than usual. It was about 1 a.m., and I was just lying in bed, scrolling on my phone, when I noticed headlights shining through my window, cutting across the wall. Ethan was finally home. A few seconds later, I heard the front door open. For some reason, I felt like I should say hi, maybe break the weird distance that had grown between us. I got up and opened my bedroom door, but right as I did, I heard his footsteps rushing quickly down the hallway. It startled me. As I peeked my head out, I saw Ethan standing frozen outside his bedroom door, like I had just caught him doing something he shouldn't have been doing. The hallway lights were off, but I could still make out the wide, frozen look in his eyes. "Hey man, just wanted to say what's up," I said, trying to break the tension. But the way he just stood there, eyes wide open, staring at me in the dark, sent a chill through me. "I'm good," he finally muttered after a few long seconds of silence. His voice was quiet, almost like a whisper. I nodded awkwardly and stepped back into my room, closing the door behind me. That whole encounter didn't help ease the weird tension building between us. I couldn't shake how strange his reaction was. Why was he acting so nervous? Why the rush to his room? I didn't want to be nosy, but my curiosity was getting the better of me. After sitting on my bed for a few minutes, I decided to open my door again. I crept quietly down the hallway, just wanting to listen for a moment as I passed by his room. As I got closer, I heard him shuffling around, opening and closing drawers, moving things quickly like he was searching for something or trying to hide something. The chaotic noises inside his room made me freeze for a moment. Then suddenly everything went completely silent, as if he realized I was standing outside. The longer I stood there, the more uncomfortable I felt. The silence on the other side of the door was heavy, like he was listening for me. My heart started racing, and I decided I needed to get out of the hallway. But before I could move, his door suddenly swung open. Ethan stood there, staring right at me with those same wide, restless eyes. His expression was stiff, almost like he was forcing himself to stay calm. Trying to play it off, I said, "Oh, I was just heading to the kitchen. You want anything?" He didn't answer right away, just kept staring for a moment before quietly muttering, "No." Then he slowly closed the door again without saying anything else. The way he acted left me seriously unsettled. I went into the kitchen anyway, just to follow through with what I said, grabbed some water and went back to my room. The rest of the night stayed quiet, but I couldn't shake the weird feeling that something was seriously off with him. Over the next 5 or 6 days, I found myself becoming hyper-aware of Ethan's behavior. I started staying up later, waiting to hear when he came home. Every night, it was the same. He'd come in late, walk straight to his room without saying a word, and lock the door behind him. His eyes, when I caught glimpses of him, seemed more restless and distant each day. like he hadn't been sleeping. He barely spoke, offering only short, mumbled responses when I tried to talk. The once awkward silence between us was now laced with a thick tension that left me constantly on edge. I couldn't figure out what he was doing all day or where he was going every night, but whatever it was, it clearly wasn't normal. The unsettling vibe around him only seemed to grow stronger with each passing day, making it harder for me to relax in my own home. I was starting to genuinely worry something serious was going on that I wasn't supposed to know about. Then one night, as I was lying in bed trying to fall asleep, I heard a soft knock at my door. It was around 12:30 a.m., and I hadn't heard Ethan walk down the hall. My chest tightened. I got up cautiously and opened the door. Ethan stood there with that same strange, wide-eyed look, but this time there was a slight forced smile on his face. He told me he had just gotten home, but realized he might have dropped his wallet somewhere in the driveway. He asked if I had a flashlight and could help him look for it. The request caught me off guard. He had never asked me for anything before. It felt odd, but part of me hoped maybe this was his way of trying to be a little normal again. So I agreed, grabbed a flashlight, and followed him outside. As we stepped onto the gravel driveway, he tried making small talk, asking about work and random stuff, but it all felt forced, like he was trying too hard to act casual. As we walked, I noticed right away that his car was parked unusually far down the driveway, almost at the very end near the tree line. It didn't make sense. He normally parked much closer to the house. If he dropped his wallet, it should have been closer to the front door, not way out here. We kept walking farther, my flashlight sweeping across the gravel as I searched. When we finally reached his car, I still hadn't seen any sign of his wallet. Then, without saying much, he started leading me away from the driveway and into the edge of the woods. That's when my nerves really kicked in. I stopped and asked why we were heading into the trees. He paused, like he had to think about it, then said he went for a short walk earlier and might have dropped it out here. I didn't believe him. The whole thing felt wrong. He kept trying to coax me deeper into the woods, but every instinct I had was screaming for me to turn back. My nerves were through the roof at this point. "Here, you can take the flashlight. I need to head back. I've got to be up early for work," I said, trying to sound casual as I held the flashlight out to him. But he didn't take it. Instead, his fake smile faded, and his wide eyes shifted into something much darker: anger, frustration. The tension between us was suffocating. He didn't say a word, just stood there, staring at me. My heart was pounding. After a few long, tense seconds, I slowly turned and began walking quickly back toward the house, glancing over my shoulder a few times. Ethan didn't follow. He just stood there, still watching me from the edge of the trees. As soon as I made it back inside, I locked the door behind me and started packing. I didn't know what his plan was, but I couldn't stay there another night. I barely slept, listening for any sounds of him returning to the house. By morning, I shoved everything valuable into my car and left without wasting a second. I couldn't shake the overwhelming dread that something far worse might have happened if I'd followed Ethan deeper into the woods. What unsettled me even more was that he never returned to the house that night. He simply vanished in the years since. I haven't heard a single word from him. No messages, no explanation, nothing. His behavior during those last weeks keeps replaying in my mind. The wide, restless eyes, the strange rushing around, the unsettling silence, and that night when he lured me into the woods. I'm certain he had sinister intentions. To this day, I believe I narrowly avoided something horrible. Sometimes, late at night, I still see his expression in my mind and wonder how close I came to real danger. The unanswered questions never faded. I only know one thing for sure: I was lucky to get away.